Hello, everyone. My name is Corey Diriliano, and I'm an architect with Bettesworth North, and I've been collaborating with Fast Planning, and I'll introduce Olivia Lunsford.
Hi, everyone. I'm Olivia Lunsford. I'm the transportation planner for Fast Planning, or Fairbanks Area Surface Transportation Planning. We're a nonprofit that uses federal funds to address transportation infrastructure and keeping Fairbanks moving in the metropolitan planning area of Fairbanks.
Great, thanks. And we are here today to talk with you all about a project that we're working on and is really in its early stages of just kind of design exploration and thinking about potential futures for the Lacey Street corridor. This project's been going on for a bit, and Olivia will explain that a little more in a second. But we're really just starting to develop ideas and are looking for feedback. The kind of overall goals of this are of the work that we're working on together is improvements to city infrastructure, public spaces, and local businesses, and also addressing environmental and safety concerns. So that Olivia can talk to you about why Lacey.
Yeah, thanks, Corey. So before we move on any further in this small presentation, you should know about the Green Streets Plan that is officially on our shelf as of June 2019. This is a plan that has design recommendations for road and transportation projects that are green, so to speak, or treat stormwater runoff into our beautiful Chena River. And Fast Planning was approached by the Tanana Valley Watershed Association. They had an aqua grant in hand to do outreach on viable potential project sites for green infrastructure in Fairbanks. And with Lacey Street being in the Green Streets Plan already, it immediately came to mind because it has an extremely low motorized traffic count, coming in at 8% of its neighboring roads, making it the ideal place to start with project potential. So beginning in fall of 2019, Fast Planning, Bettesworth North, and the Tanana Valley Watershed Association began an outreach project to garner significant public input on design possibilities. That included everything from keeping Lacey Street the way it is to implementing a linear park, or a park that would extend from one end of Lacey to the other, or any sections in between.
And more information about that plan can be found on the previous slide and on the Fast Planning website. So this shows some of those ideas of the transformations that could take place there. So why the co-op?
Yeah. So why the co-op? Well, as we know, it is sort of at one terminus of Lacey Street. We have the Golden Heart Plaza on the other end. Both are public spaces. We really view the co-op market as a public space. There's lots of pedestrian traffic that pops in to the co-op for a snack, or to visit some friends, or hang out at that picnic table. And it does pose some current site challenges, which make it an even more ideal case study between the water runoff and drainage issues in the parking lot, as well as the vehicle through traffic that Fast Planning could help temper or even mitigate. It makes it a really ideal candidate to be looking at for the continuation of the Lacey Street project.
Great. And yeah, some of those things, like we mentioned before, this is really in its early stages, but from a high level, we're thinking about safety, we're thinking about functionality, how different people get here and from where. And then also some kind of more urban design type things, and the sort of experience of walking up and down the Lacey corridor, and what one of the termini might feel like down here. So whether that includes more, kind of pedestrian featured lighting, seating areas, planted spaces, and then how those might start to support business expansion opportunities, like outdoor seating areas for adjacent restaurants, like this seen down here from South Restaurant and Cafe in Anchorage. And now the parcels. Olivia knows quite a bit about this.
Thanks, Corey. Yeah, so I am the GIS professional, or mapping professional in-house. So this is just data from the Fairbanks North Star Borough tax roll parcel layer, and it gives us the information about what business owners are attached to which parcels. And so this map really just highlights that there are a few different business owners that we could potentially be collaborating with on this particular project. As you can see, the Astro LLC parcel does extend into the parking area that's commonly used for the co-op. And this area is also where a lot of pooling happens during the rainy season and during breakup as well. So this just highlights who we could be working with and gives us a general or better idea of the general area.
So some of the initial site observations down here, and all of these are to be verified by local constituents and also any people that use the space and also property owners. But some of the things that are apparent right away, like Olivia mentioned, are that there are drainage issues in a number of different spaces. There's also traffic calming that needs to take place, and that's partly in due to the fact that traffic coming down Lacey tends to cut through this parking lot and pull down to Gaffney in order to access Airport Road. And on top of that, there are areas where vehicles parking up close to the building are essentially backing into that through traffic lane. So there's a couple of things that we're looking at right off the bat, and all of this is to be really verified by project constituents and stakeholders. So the co-op is specifically being targeted because a lot of the areas fronting the sort of Lacey corridor and are adjacent to areas of the building that the co-op is currently occupying. So there will be more extensive, questions and answers as we develop these ideas. And, obviously user feedback is one of the most critical pieces of making any kind of project a successful one. So what we'll show next are kind of a series of slides that speak to the existing conditions, and then a few really initial ideas responding to some of these challenges that we've just identified. So as we mentioned, there's through traffic occurring on Lacey Street. That may change based on what happens with the Lacey Street corridor as part of that project. There's also areas where traffic calming is right in front of the building to slow that down. There's water ponding in substantial areas, which makes it a challenge for both motorists and non-motorized uses. There's some areas that are not really in use based on the current building occupancy. And then there's just other concerns about basic access to the front of the building. There are no continuous sidewalks that lead from any of the adjacent blocks to get up to the front door here. So you're essentially traversing through a parking lot if you're going to the co-op. So this initial idea really takes what would become essentially a one-way corridor coming down from Lacey Street and continues that down to Gaffney, but it does provide for some more substantial traffic calming. There are a lot of different methods, but one would be what's called a tabletop, which is an elevated area, and that helps slow traffic down quite a bit and helps give pedestrians a better view up and down the street as they're moving across it. Another thing is pulling some of the parking away from the building to create more substantial outdoor seating areas that could support the deli area of the co-op building or any kind of food element in there. Again, all of this would need to be substantiated by project constituents before it took place. But then one of the other big moves is these darker green spaces, and these would start to address a lot of that additional water runoff. Those would be rain gardens, and is really kind of the primary project goal of the aqua funding, is to find ways to divert runoff from the municipal stormwater system. In the second idea would be, again, in this progression of kind of slowing traffic down and increasing utility to non-motorized uses and to the building, would be having one-way traffic come down from Lacey and then turn out towards Noble Street, and having still all of that front row parking for the co-op, but now having more pedestrian uses up closer to the building and non-motorized uses. So that could greatly expand utility to tenants of the building. Any of these modifications that are made, we'd absolutely be checking against city code for maintaining the number of required parking spaces for both convenience and by code. But really, this kind of a move would help get people safely to the front of the building. It would reduce a lot of those ponding issues, and it would slow traffic down as it approached. And then the final idea is kind of the further end of the spectrum, and this is in line with what was listed as a preferred option from the Lacey Street corridor, which is turning some of these blocks into linear parks and closing them to vehicular use. So in this circumstance, all the traffic would be controlled coming off of Noble Street into the parking lot area here, and would give more area for rain gardens, for outdoor seating, and again, for dedicated outdoor seating spaces for restaurants or supporting new tenants in the co-op building here, as well as providing a number of pathways from the adjacent blocks for people coming on bikes or walking with strollers or on foot up to the front of the building here. So again, just to rehash, these are all really initial ideas, and there's quite a bit of development and information gathering in order for them to become viable. But this is the early stage. So if anyone has questions or comments, please reach out to Olivia and I. We're super excited to work on this type of stuff, and we think it makes for better spaces in Fairbanks. And Olivia, do you have anything else to close with?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Corey. We're really passionate about outreach and just connecting people who have questions with people who might have answers. And fast planning works really closely with a lot of local entities and governing agencies in town. So if you have questions that are as specific as needing to get an answer from a government agency, we're more than happy to help you find those answers. So please feel free to reach out to us for sure.
Great. All right. Thanks, everyone. And we hope to talk to you soon.